Hello and thanks for joining us for our mid-morning edition of Arirang News. I'm Mark Broom. Let's kick things off with a look at the day's headlines. Losing its punch, Typhoon Solek looks set to be downgraded to a tropical storm as it slowly moves across South Korea. It's brought heavy rain and strong winds to areas in its path. However, it's only brushing us here in Seoul. Another day of joy, tears and raw emotions. The second round of reunions for families separated since the outbreak of the Korean War starts this afternoon. Those taking part will be seeing each other for the first time since the early 1950s. Plus, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will be packing his bags for Pyongyang next week for his fourth trip to the North Korean capital. The focus, denuclearization, after efforts to that end seem to have stalled. So let's start with Typhoon Solek. The system, which is weakening now, is moving in a northeasterly direction at a speed of around 30 kilometers an hour to the eastern coast of the nation. Solek has now moved out of Gangwon-do Province, and in Cheongju for us is our Che Xiang. Xiang, how is the weather looking there right now?
Well, Mark, the eye of Typhoon Soulik past Daejeon and Chungcheongbuk-do Province, and as you can see here, the wind is very weak and it's raining lightly. But a typhoon advisory is still in place, and the weather agency forecasts up to 80 millimeters of rainfall in the area. In nearby Chungcheongnam-do Province, about 90 schools are closed for the day, and middle and high school students are likely to go to school later than usual. In Sejong, all schools are shut down. The typhoon's trajectory has shifted from its earlier projection. The weather agency forecasts that after Solek exits the Chungcheongbuk-do Province in the morning, it'll hit Gangneung at around noon before moving into the East Sea. I will keep you with the latest throughout the day. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, thank you for that report. Now, South Korea's capital city of Seoul is also waiting to see what exactly Solek might bring. So far, we haven't seen very much in the way of rain and only slightly breezier winds than normal, really. So let's speak to our Kim Mo-gyun, who's at Somsevit, an island near Banpo Hangang Park in Seoul. Mo-gyun, what's it looking like there?
Hi, Mark. Though we've been experiencing on and off showers in Seoul, the sky seems to be clearing up and the typhoon definitely has been weakened. As so, the Korea Meteorological Administration downgraded its current typhoon warnings to typhoon advisories in many parts of the country. Solek is on its way north, with the eye of the typhoon set to pass Gyeonggi-do Province soon. The agency initially reported that it could hit Seoul at 4 a.m., but since the course of the typhoon seems changed, the capital is not going to suffer a direct hit.
So Mo-gyun, like you said, it is raining a bit and it's fairly windy in Seoul. We just want to know, really, if these alerts, you said it's been downgraded somewhat, the typhoon aspects, whether the alerts are in place in most places and whether the emergency countermeasures that were put in place on Thursday are still in place as well.
Yes, as far as we know, they are. In fact, regional governments and related ministries have been working around the clock since Thursday afternoon, so it's been more than 20 hours already. President Moon Jae-in also instructed them to do all they can to ensure the safety of the people. Thousands of kindergartens, elementary and middle schools will be closed today, and Seoul's headquarters for national disaster safety measures is still advising people to use public transportation instead of driving. Related agencies also conducted checkups on trains and subways to make sure they are safe in the unpredictable weather. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, well, Typhoon Solek hasn't had much of a significant impact on the capital, as we just heard there, but eastern areas of Gangwon-do Province on the eastern side of South Korea are still pretty much on alert, waiting to see what might happen. So let's get a check-up on the typhoon from our weathercaster, Lee Ji-hyun, who is still joining us at the Weather Centre, been with us all morning. Ji-hyun, fill us in on the nationwide aspect of what's going on with this typhoon.
Sure, Mark, and hello again. Now, those in the eastern parts of Gangwon-do Province are seeing heavy showers, and rain will pick up in the afternoon, while strong winds of up to 20 meters per second or 70 kilometers per hour are expected. And typhoon advisories have been upgraded to warnings in parts of Gangwon-do Province, as well as Korea's easternmost islands of Dokdo and Ulleungdo. Both the West Sea and the East Sea are also seeing strong gusty winds. And the typhoon is forecast to move out into the East Sea at around noon near Gangneung. So expect to see severe weather conditions until the evening, even though Typhoon Solek may soon be downgraded to a tropical storm as it continues to lose its steam. Meanwhile, the amount of precipitation has decreased except for in the eastern regions of Gangwon-do Province, and Seoul will see light showers into the evening hours today. And daily highs will range from 29 to 33 degrees Celsius this afternoon, while southwest regions will see better weather before noon. That's all for now. Back to you, Mark.
Now, Solek may have slowed down a little, as we've heard from Jihyun, plus our other two reporters who are outside today. But the winds do remain strong in certain areas, and it did cause some damage overnight. Gangwon-do Province was hit fairly hard, causing damage to buildings and roads, as well as uprooting a number of trees and even some lamp posts as well. There are also power outages for around 22,000 households in various regions across the southwestern part of the country and Jeju Island. One 16-year-old student is said to have been injured when a wall collapsed last night. This adds to the one death and one injured from the previous day. As we mentioned earlier before, authorities have ordered kindergartens, elementary and middle schools to stay shut for the rest of the day as a precautionary measure, and high schools as well are also recommended to close, but that's down to the discretion of the principal. And firms are also urged to allow employees with children to take the day off. Many flights were cancelled overnight because of the bad weather, so disruption to schedules are expected today as well. So as this typhoon continues to affect certain parts of the country, people in South Korea are remaining on guard. And on Thursday, President Moon Jae-in urged all-out measures to minimize the damage and ensure everyone stays safe. Shin Se-min reports.
Postponing a pre-scheduled meeting Thursday, President Moon is giving all of his attention to the storm and the nation's response to it, with Typhoon Soulik already causing some casualties and property damage. And going personally to the Crisis Management Center set up at the National Security Office, the president ordered once again that the government do all it can to prevent any more.
태풍이 지나갈 오늘부터 내일까지 이틀간 우리 정부 그리고 지자체가 보유하고 있는 위기 관리 능력을 남김없이 발휘해서 국민들 피해가 최소화되고 또 걱정도 또 최소화될 수 있도록 그렇게 함께 노력해야겠습니다.
President Moon exchanged updates with the heads of Korea's 17 local governments about the latest on the storm and the response measures, and asked them to do their best to minimize the damage. He stressed that the safety of the people comes first, and also called on private entities to adjust working hours so people can have a safe commute. Already, public schools in the capital Seoul and several other areas have been closed. He also told officials to make sure the South Koreans attending the family reunions at the North's Mount Kumgang, most of whom are elderly, are kept safe. And as for how any restoration work will be done once the storm passes, the president ordered the government to look into measures like special grants for the regions hardest hit. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, the second round of inter-Korean family reunions begins on this Friday, following the first three-day session, which took place earlier this week, and we reported on very much so here on Arirang News. Our Kan Hyung-woo is in Sokcho. This is where the South Korean families have just left for the Mount Kumgang resort. So, Hyung-woo, it looks like there is a fair bit of rain over there on the northeast coast. Just walk us through, though, what's on the agenda for today.
Well, Mark, as you can see, this area is clearly being affected by Typhoon Solek. It started raining earlier this morning, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. But even the typhoon couldn't stop the long-awaited reunion. The 326 South Korean relatives of the 81 North Korean participants left Sokcho about an hour ago. Seoul's Unification Ministry says it will closely monitor the weather conditions and make sure that safety comes before anything else. They will enter North Korea through the Customs, Immigration, and Quarantine Office at Gosong and are expected to arrive at Mount Kumgang before 1 p.m. Korea time. After having an individual lunch, they will finally be able to meet their relatives for the first time in decades. They will have 2 hours from 3 to 5 p.m. to catch up, asking each other how they've lived, where they live now, and everything else in between. After the first gathering, they will meet once more for the welcoming banquet hosted by South Korea to end their first night in the north. According to the latest prediction by the Korea Meteorological Administration, at around noon, Typhoon Solek is now expected to be passing through the city of Gangneung, which is only about 120 kilometers south from Mount Kumgang. So the officials on site have been checking the facilities, and the two Koreas are staying in close contact in case of emergencies. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, Hyung-woo, thank you very much. Please try and stay as dry as you can and don't catch a cold over there in Sokcho, but it's good to see that the reunions are unaffected by the weather, the rather poor weather they're having in that part of the country. So before these South Korean participants left for the Mount Kumgang resort to finally meet with their relatives, our Park Hee-jun was lucky enough to meet up with some of them to find out how they are feeling about this truly momentous occasion.
The wait is finally over. It's only a brief moment after almost a lifetime of separation, but for the South and North Korean families who thought they'd never be able to see each other again, the reunion is a dream come true. The day before the reunion, we asked these South Koreans who will meet their families living north of the border one question. How do you feel?
감정이 말도 못하지요. 어머니는 지금 며칠 동안 잠을 못 주무셨어요.
사남매가 만나게 되는 그 기분이 이거만한 표를 못 그 죽었던 사람 얼마나 반가우면서 눈물이 그냥.
When Oh Byung-im got married at the age of 17, her entire family went to the north looking for work. 74 years later, she will meet her younger brother, Oh Byung-sam. Of course, she has a lot of questions.
우리 동생 이제 내일 만날 때 아이고 또 동생 저기 보고 싶다가 이렇게 만나니까 좋다고 내가 안 죽고 살으니까 이렇게 만나본다고 하고 내 어머니가 어떻게 돌아가셨나 아버지가 어떻게 돌아가셨나.
Mo Kwon-son and Mo Kwon-gu are brothers set to meet their oldest brother in the north, but they're not sure whether the North Korean participant is really their brother because his family name is Kim.
형님인지 아닌지 확인하기 위해서 우리 아버님, 어머니 성함을 여쭤보면 대답을 하실 거 아니에요. 그러면 틀림없는 우리 형이라는 걸로 증명이 되잖아요.
뭐 눈물밖에 더 나오겠어요. 뭐 얘기를 안 해도 우리가 뭐 여기서 남한에서 생활을 하는 거 보면 이북의 실정은 너무나 잘 알거든. 뭐 얼마나 고생을 하고 살았겠어요.
With mixed emotions, the South Koreans will be brought together with their relatives in the north. The 3-day reunion will be buzzing with questions that were left unanswered for close to 7 decades. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News, Sokcho.
Before we go on briefly, just a reminder that we will be bringing you comprehensive coverage of the second round of reunions that runs through Sunday here on Arirang TV. Now, America's top diplomat says he's going back to Pyongyang to continue negotiations on the dismantlement of North Korea's nuclear weapons program. Mike Pompeo has also announced his new special representative for North Korea. Lee Seung-jae with the details.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is set to make his 4th visit of the year to North Korea. He says he's flying there next week to press ahead with talks on getting the regime to abandon its nuclear weapons program. During his first 2 trips to the north as Secretary of State, Pompeo met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to lay the groundwork for the first-ever summit between the leaders of the U.S. and North Korea. His 3rd trip was a follow-up to the Singapore summit that took place in June. At a press briefing at the State Department on Thursday, Pompeo also announced the appointment of a key North Korea-related official.
I'm excited to announce this morning that Steve Biegun is joining our team as the Special Representative for North Korea.
Pompeo said Biegun will direct U.S. policy towards North Korea while leading efforts to achieve President Trump's goal of the final, fully verified denuclearization of North Korea, adding the two will travel to Pyongyang together. Pompeo, however, did not disclose the exact date of their trip. Biegun worked on the White House National Security Council from 2001 to 2003 and fills a position left vacant by the retirement of Joseph Yoon in March. Standing next to Pompeo during the briefing, Biegun stressed the importance of his job, adding that the issues will be hard to resolve.
The issues are tough, and they will be tough to resolve. But the President has created an opening, and it's one that we must take by seizing every possible opportunity to realize the vision for a peaceful future for the people of North Korea.
With the latest appointment, hopes are rising that the U.S. and North Korea can edge closer to the agreement reached by their 2 leaders in June. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Turning now to the latest from Jakarta and Palembang, South Korea picked up the pace at the 2018 Asian Games with 5 gold medals on Thursday, with 2 gymnasts leading the way. The men's football team also kept their run going, booking themselves a spot in the last 8 with a convincing win over one of the tournament's favourites. Kwon Jang-oh with the details.
On Thursday evening, South Korea's men's football team overcame a strong Iranian team, beating them 2-0 to advance to the quarter-finals. Hwang Hee-jo and Lee Seung-woo found the back of the net to seal the victory. South Korea, the defending champions, will now face Uzbekistan in the last 8 on Monday evening. Moving on to the athletes grabbing gold on day 5 of the Games, a new golden generation of South Korean artistic gymnasts are making name for themselves on the world stage. Kim Han-sol and 16-year-old Yeo Seo-jung each delivered a gold medal in their respective events. Kim won the men's floor exercise title, while Yeo captured the women's vault gold medal. The golds hold extra importance for the future of artistic gymnastics in South Korea, following the no-gold finish at the 2014 Asian Games at Incheon. Yeo's gold was also a significant one for her family. Her father, Yeo Hong-chul, won gold medals in the men's vault at the 94 and 98 Asian Games. On the final day of the Taekwondo events, Lee Dae-hoon snagged gold in the men's 68kg event over his Iranian opponent. He becomes the first athlete to win 3 straight Taekwondo gold medals in Asian Games history. Lee's gold was South Korea's last Taekwondo medal at the 2018 Asian Games, wrapping up its campaign with 5 golds, 5 silvers and 2 bronze. In fencing, the men's sabre team beat Iran by 13 points for South Korea's 2nd straight Asian Games gold in the event. And among them, Koo Bong-gil, the individual champion from Monday, became the country's first double gold medalist in Jakarta. The world #1 ranked team so far brings home South Korea's 5th gold from fencing, with one more day of team competitions remaining on Friday. Over in Palembang, the co-host city, shooter Shin Hyun-woo fired his way to gold in the men's double trap shooting event. It was South Korea's first gold in shooting at these games after 3 silvers and 2 bronze medals. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Now let's stick with sports news. The new head coach of South Korea's national football team is brimming with confidence before reporters Paulo Bento vowed to take the Taeguk Warriors to the next level. Our Won Jung-hwan has more from his first press conference in South Korea.
Portuguese tactician Paulo Bento had his first press conference on Thursday as the new head coach of the South Korean national football team. In front of the press, he explained in detail his vision for the national team.
I will try to achieve an ambitious goal with South Korea, which is to win the Asian Cup and qualify for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. It's going to be a long project, but I'll also use this opportunity to take South Korean football to the next level.
He also said he is determined to develop South Korean football and bring through the next generation of young players.
We have so many talented young players, so we should give them the opportunity. And it's my opportunity to check the players.
Bento and his staff watched the K-League match between FC Seoul and Pohang Steelers on Wednesday. And when asked about his impression of South Korean football in general, he mentioned the country's success in 2002.
I think the 2002 World Cup was an opportunity for Korean football to develop further. It was a historic moment for the country, and since then, the football standard has increased a lot.
Interestingly, his last match in a Portugal jersey came against South Korea at the 2002 FIFA World Cup. Portugal lost that match 1-0 and failed to advance to the knockout stage. Bento, however, has now been given the opportunity to create some better memories with South Korea. His task will be helping the Taeguk Warriors get past the group stage at the next World Cup, something the team hasn't managed since 2010. The new head coach's plan, which he has laid out in front of the press, will be first tested when the national team hosts Costa Rica and Chile in a series of friendly matches next month. Won Jung-hwan, Arirang News.
Now let's turn to some extreme weather that's affecting other parts of the world now. Hawaii is bracing for a Category 4 cyclone named Hurricane Lane, which is expected to make landfall in the coming days. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Arirang. Arirang, what do we know about this cyclone so far?
Well, Mark, Hurricane Lane has already begun unloading heavy rain on Big Island and Maui. More than 76 centimetres, that is centimetres, of rainfall is expected when the storm makes landfall. Gale force winds exceeding 200 kilometres per hour are also likely to create huge waves, sparking fears of flash flooding. 6 of Hawaii's islands are under a hurricane warning, and residents have already started to make preparations for the storm. There are long lines outside gas stations as people rush to refuel their vehicles. Most wholesale retailers and big box stores such as Costco were sold out of bottled water and other emergency supplies, including power generators and even canned food. Meanwhile, President Trump has tweeted that he has approved an emergency disaster declaration. The worst of Hurricane Lane is expected to be seen on Friday as it moves past the Big Island during the day. However, there is still some uncertainty surrounding the storm. Weather authorities cannot say for sure that Hurricane Lane will directly hit Hawaii, and they are hoping that it moves further west and away from the island. If the storm does hit Hawaii, it would be the first to do so in 26 years. Elsewhere, meanwhile, South Korea is not the only country to be hit by a powerful typhoon. Neighbouring Japan is also feeling the brunt of a powerful typhoon called Cimaron, which is wreaking havoc across the western parts of the country. The storm made landfall in East Shikoku on Thursday evening, local time, packing winds of up to 175 kilometers per hour and pounding the area with heavy rain. There have been reports of some power outages, and there is also the risk of flooding and mudslides. Typhoon Cimaron is expected to reach northern Japan by the weekend, and more than 100,000 people along the storm's path have been ordered to evacuate. In other news, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has issued a rare rebuttal of President Trump's scathing assessment of him. Trump told a Fox News interview, which aired on Thursday, that Sessions, quote, never took control of the Justice Department. The president went on to say that he only gave Sessions the job because he felt loyalty and because he was an original supporter. Trump has frequently attacked Sessions, mostly due to the Attorney General's decision to step aside from the DOJ's probe into Russian interference in the 2016 election for what he says was to avoid a potential conflict of interest. Sessions hit back in a statement saying the Justice Department will not improperly be influenced by political considerations. He added that he demands the highest standards and takes action when they are not met.
Adam, thank you as always for the international news, and that's where we're going to leave it for now. Until next time, goodbye.